real-time transformation of others via inner conversation. As I have been mentioning throughout our Neville conversations, in relationships, our goal is to represent them in our mind's eye, which is the true eye, of how they actually are. So for example, people show up and they say, "This is what I desire." However, they say, "It's impossible." I go within myself and say, what within me is creating this experience? Certainly, I would not accept that what I desire is impossible. He says, if you attempt to change the world before you change your attitude towards it, your struggle will be in vain. And I've tried it before. I try to convince them with my words that they can make it happen. He says, that which you dislike will change only to the degree that you change your attitude towards it. For the dislike is coming from within you. Then what within me am I disliking about myself? So I have a conversation with myself, real time, in the interaction with the person. Real time, inside myself. I say, it's possible. This person is realizing more so that it is possible. When I saw them mentioning what they desire, I saw that as a fact in imagination. They are going to reveal it in conversation. Now something interesting ends up happening upon acceptance of that suggestion. They begin to communicate differently. All of a sudden they have ideas. They're like, you know what? It was good to have this conversation with you because I realized that I was thinking in a way that's not true to how I am. And the reality is that I can make it happen. I'm actually seeing possibilities of how so it could be so, or something like that. We see this all the time in relationships, business, consulting. And so we take the responsibility within ourselves to imagine them for how they truly are. Let's reflect upon that for a moment. Would you like someone who, when you share how you truly are, what you truly want to experience in your life with them, that they could not encourage how you truly are? And all of this is happening via a subconscious level. Because although we could say, here's what to say to them if they say that to you, as we have been discussing, verbal, nonverbal components, which include voice tonality and other nonverbal components like body language, are automatic expressions from a state of mind. And my goal is to maintain the ideal state of mind, the one of people show up, and my goal is to represent them as fact in that reality because I am in my ideal reality in which all people genuinely know what they want, and we create a harmonious-based theater to make it happen. Business deal, personal relationships, etc. And so now I'd like to get even more granular and further encourage this so that we can recognize this was always actually happening. See, when a person is not aware to the degree, they might assume that the person is saying something different. When in actuality, upon careful observation, they will see that the person is playing out the inner dialogue or the assumptions, internal beliefs that we have, although a lot of times unconscious, as to what we are imagining about them based on whatever it is that they say. And actually, we're imagining those things upon ourselves. The golden rule, do unto others as you would wish done unto yourself. So if a person says, this is how I truly want to live, this is who I am, then I take the responsibility to imagine them as I would imagine myself, that they are that person now. So many beautiful things end up happening. Number one is the person transforms without even saying stuff. Yes, there's words in the conversation, body language, tonality, etc. However, that, if you observe it as a third party, what was going on between us is a reflection of the state of mind. Now, we get better at it with practice, and so I want to further encourage it. 3 important aspects here that he shares. Number 1, inner talking from the premise of fulfilled desire is the way to consciously create circumstances. Let's read that again. Inner talking from the premise of fulfilled desire is the way to consciously create circumstances. So am I suggesting to myself in regards to what they say from the premise of fulfilled desire? Or am I taking their words and imagining from the premise of how they don't want to be? And since what we imagine in relation to impresses upon the subconscious mind and plays out as the theater of conversation, I apply the golden rule, and the conversations change, the behaviors change. Now, this is something that's also discussed in many communication or leadership programs. Actually, in neurolinguistic programming, we have a saying that goes, "You go first." As in my own mind's eye, I determine the reality. And the reality plays out some way, somehow. I let go of the how because then I might start to control things. Oh, maybe I should say this. Or I might find myself fidgeting to posture myself a certain way. All of those things happen automatically from the state of mind because reality is the affirmation in mind. So what am I saying I am to in regards to what they're saying? Number 2, as we control our inner talking, matching it to our fulfilled desires, we can lay aside all other processes. So he says that. We can lay aside all other processes, the verbal and nonverbal aspects. We can lay it aside. We match our inner talking to the fulfilled desire. So in conversation, they reveal the desire. Because I have a belief, my goal, my responsibility, my joy in this life is to talk about what a person loves, how they truly want to be, and to facilitate letting go of thinking patterns that are not true to how they actually are, which can happen in conversation. Certainly, we could talk about certain things. However, those conversations are done from the premise that they are that person ideally now. And I experience it from that fulfilled desire. And so laying aside all other processes, everything happens automatically. And so number 3, he says, the right inner speech is the speech that would be yours were you to realize your ideal. So I look at this world and I say, I want everybody to realize their ideal. If I can imagine everyone realizing their ideal, I do unto others as I do unto myself. And when I show up in conversation with others, they do the same thing with me. I talk about my goals, my visions, my desires, and they seem to encourage it because that's the harmonious theater that plays out from the inner conversation that says that's how it works. And from that premise, it's easy then to represent people how they truly are in your mind's eye by if they say any of, for example, the following things to you. These are some examples that I've noted. Then we can see it for how it truly is accurately, which is impressed upon the subconscious mind. And some way, somehow, they seem to say the same thing that we're imagining, which is true to how they actually are. So here are some examples. I'm not good enough. I don't have enough time. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough money. I'm not talented enough. I'll never be a great leader. I can't do it. So these are some things that they might say. If they say it, then we have an opportunity. So here's how I would imagine these things in my mind's eye if they were to say something like this to me. Recognizing that they are, in my imagination, how they truly are, which these statements, in the literal sense, don't appear to be aligned with how they actually are. And so now I have the opportunity to suggest to myself what these things actually mean in relationship with how they are in my imagination. If someone says, I am not good enough, in my mind I might say, well, they're probably going to recognize any minute now how good they are. They're going to find these possibilities. I've seen this happen many times before. And so I accept that suggestion. And I notice that they will carry on the conversation and I might say a couple things to them. And then they do start communicating of how they're good enough. Or if they say, I don't have enough time. Right away in my mind's eye will flash certain experiences in my life where I had that same assumption and proved it to not be true, and found creative ways of working with the time that I had to produce the results. And I say, well, they can do that as well. Right away flashes in my mind's eye, real time, in conversation. In conversation, this is happening. Real time, I'm changing my inner dialogue in relation to them. Could be a conversation internally or flashes of imaginal scenes in relationship with how they actually are playing out then, which then could play out as the theater of them saying, oh, yeah, actually, there are some ways that I could do it. Oh, interesting, I just thought of something that could save time. I'm not smart enough. Well, I've recognized this all throughout my journey. I believe that about myself. And then I realized that there were so many ways that I got access to information just by identifying with some of the thinking patterns, for example, in Think and Grow Rich, where he said everybody is actually a genius. And I recognized that if I saw this in myself actually playing out, and I've seen it in many others playing out, of course it's going to happen with this person as well. And as a result, I maintain that state of mind and the conversation changes to reflect that state of mind. Another one is I don't have enough experience. And I know from working with many people that no matter where you are in the journey, there is far more experience that we have that we give ourselves credit for, and they're going to realize this. So I may say that in conversation, or they may come up to that conclusion on their own. However, it's important to make the distinction that if I do say it in conversation, it's coming from the premise of that state, which is actually true to how they are. And then if I had doubt within myself, it may play out as a mix and match. They might say, oh, I do have experience, but this, but that. And I might react to a different state of mind based on what they say. And if I do, that's fine. I let go of it right then and there. I recognize that they are that person now. And we go back into the state of mind that's one with the vision. Another one could be, I don't have enough money. I recognize that money can show up from unexpected sources in miraculous ways even. And I believe it can happen for them. Actually, I'm seeing them actually experiencing that. And then I see them relax. I see their body language. They just relax and say, you know what? Oh, I have this other opportunity, and so forth. Another one is, I'm not talented enough. I realize that everybody has within themselves, based on what they desire, the talent needed to accomplish it, and they realize it more so upon finding flow, cultivating that talent. So whatever it is that they're saying, I'm not arguing with them about it. I'm representing them as the person that they said that they are, ideally, in the start of the conversation. And whatever these objections are that they give, I recognize that it's my own interpretations in relation to what they're saying. As he says here, inner talking from the premise of fulfilled desire is the way to consciously create circumstances. As we control our inner talking, matching it with our fulfilled desires, we can lay aside all other processes. The right inner speech is the speech that would be yours were you to realize your ideal. And I like to refer to the video that I released on Tuesday to further assist with this, which I created based on some of the works from William Walker Atkinson, which helps us with this. Number one is mental fascination, and number two is suggestion and autosuggestion. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm suggesting to myself in relation to what they're saying, how they actually are in imagination by reconciling within. Because if I believe these kinds of things about them, then essentially I'm doing unto myself. And the golden rule, do unto others as you would wish done unto yourself. So if I say that they are that way, then I'm doing unto myself. I'm not good enough time, smart enough. And my goal is to lightheartedly let them go inside and identify with the true and accurate thinking patterns in relation to how they actually are. Next one is, I'll never be a great leader. Well, everybody has a distinct way of leadership. And there are many people that are looking for their style of leadership, be it in a company, be it wherever. And I see it in them. Upon having that assumption, I actually see the characteristics and attributes in them that would actually make for excellent, distinct leadership. And I'm able to see that and say, you know what, they're going to start appreciating these characteristics now. And then I bring the characteristics to the table. And then they might say something like, you know, I never realized that those attributes are actually leadership attributes. However, that does make a lot of sense. Although there are many leaders, there are those that connect with me because I have that same kind of reference experience or that same attribute. The next is, I can't do it. So again, I have no desire to argue with them about any of these things, but rather to change my own relationship to what they're saying by suggesting to myself how it actually is in regards. And by the way, you get better at doing this with practice, and it becomes so much fun in business life, personal life, to go around and do this. As Neville states here, the time is ripe for many of us to take conscious charge in creating heaven on earth, to consciously and voluntarily use our imagination to inwardly hear and only say that which is in harmony with our ideal is actively bringing heaven to earth. And that's a wonderful thing, to have harmonious friendships, relationships, all done from the premise of our own inner conversation in relationship to what they say, body language, etc., from the premise of the ideal, which is how we truly are and which is how they truly are. So I trust you found this video to be helpful on your journey, applications for personal life, business life, etc. Let's go ahead and conclude this to further encourage this ability that we already have. We can say, I recognize the power of my inner talking from the premise of fulfilled desire, and as a result, I find myself automatically representing others in my mind's eye for how they truly are, which is from the perspective of love and harmony in relationship with their goals, their visions, and definite chief aims, knowing that my goals, my visions, and definite chief aims are in mutual harmony and in contribution to each other. As a result, people show up to encourage me as I show up to encourage others. I find myself becoming more of who I am as a result of the conscious use of the two gifts, speech and mind, experiencing heaven on earth and harmonious relationships everywhere I go in a fun, flow-based way, via the least effort path of consciously imagining lovingly for others and thus myself. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.